Learning Arabic today.
So Daf Mem Beis. Amar Ma. This goes back to the Mishnah before. All of them. It's going to the Mishnah over there in the Gom that talks about the Levium and the Nazir and the Mitzvah. If they all have a mitzvah to cut their hair, the Nazir at the end of the whole thing, and the Mitzvah also the entire process and the Levium and also. So if they cut their hair without a razor, they cut all the hair, but they left 2 hairs over. So it's not considered the mitzvah. They didn't do the mitzvah of cutting their hair. 2 hairs are considered significant. If they left 2 hairs, it's not considered that they cut their hair. That's the title of the sugya. The rove is good enough. Whenever you need something to be done, so rove of it is as if you did the whole thing. How does he prove that from here? There's have to have a special pasuk. This is like we said over here, that he has to have everything cut besides 2 hairs. Less than 2 hairs is not significant. That's nothing. But if he left 2 hairs, it's not considered cut. And the Gemara says it's because of a special pasuk. Like by nazir, it says This points out that it says already right before that it says the gilach is called sarah, the gilach. And then it says, maybe there's some sukkim over here. In our Gemara we have Torah or? I don't see it. No Torah over here. Okay, so it says 2 times. He needs a special pasuk to say that he has to cut all of his hair. How come you need a special pasuk? The pasuk has to have a special pasuk to say that he has to cut all of his hair. If not for the pasuk, we would have said that robe is good enough. That means if the halacha would be that always you have to have kulo. So if it says you have to cut his hair, so he has to cut his hair, all of his hair. How come the pasuk has to say a second time cut all? That's what you learn out. It has to be all of his hair, because usually we'd say ruba kulo. Robe is good enough usually. So the pasuk has to say that over here that he has to cut all of his hair. But you learn, you could derive from here that other places where it doesn't have a special pasuk, robe would be good enough. That was Ravacha Beidru Avika.
Why? What's the story for that? If I owe you $1,000, and I pay you back $550, then
no, for sure not.
No, I know not. Why not?
I'll be happy.
Well, why not? Why not?
So Rabbi told me from the Brisker Rav, maybe, or from Rabbi Chaim, that he's only talking about when you have to do something to or something, was it considered done? Of course, you're not going to say that if you have to drink a revius, so I'll just have a cup of robe revius or anything. I'll say, of course, like your example is a great example. But if you want to say you have to do something to something, there's a unit that's there already. There's some unit that's there. Here's a head of hair, and if you tell him cut the head of hair. So if you cut robe of the head, it's called that you cut the head of the hair. But you have to have some kind of a unit that's machaber. Then there's a unit. There has to be a unit.
Can I give another example? You ask your son to clean his room. He cleans up most of it. You'll say it's enough.
Nice example.
No, you would be happy it's better than nothing, but that's not what you asked. You want the room clean, no?
It could be, depends on like it says, Timcha Zecher Amalek. You're not going to say that if you did most of Amalek is good enough, because the idea says Timcha. The point is that it should be erased. Complete. So if the father wants that the room should be clean, so he's saying that it should be clean. He's saying that it should be clean. But he's saying cut the clean also. It's not called clean. The room is not clean. But if you say here that he should cut his hair, so he cut his hair. It's not saying that each ear should be cut. That's going to be the afchana. Take a haircut. Say take a haircut. Most of his hair, maybe. But that was the kasha seems to have been already like worked on. That they had the problem. They had the kasha that you're asking. So that's the halacha ruba before.
2 hairs are not cut, then it's not kosher.
Right, but you need a special pasuk to say that. If not for that special pasuk, we would have said robe is good enough. But they have a special pasuk that here it has to be the whole hair completely. And okay, if it's only 1 hair, that's considered insignificant. But 2 hairs is very significant, and then he didn't cut his whole head. But usually ruba kukula. Master flow of Yossi Reb Chanina. I ben nazir tamik said. How could you learn from this pasuk? It's not a side point. How could you learn from this pasuk? You're learning out that he has to cut all of his hair because it says it 2 times. This pasuk it talks about nazir tamik. And the pasuk talks about there's the end of the process. He has to cut his hair, but if he became tamei, so then he loses all those days. And Yamam Roshan and Biflu. he waits 7 days to become Torah, and on the 7th day he cuts his hair. So you learn out from a nazir tamei. It means it was pointing out that this pasuk you said is by a nazir tamei, not by the din of a nazir Torah. Here that it says in the Mishnah and the Gom, it seems to be talking about a nazir Torah that he has to cut all of his hair, and you're bringing a pasuk that talks about a nazir tamei. So they laughed at this. Rav Yosef Chanina said it, and in Eretz Yisrael they laughed on what he said. Mechti nazir tamei the betam and nalan min nazir Torah yalef leisi nazir Torah v'leilef min nazir tamei. He says that it's not a problem. He's saying it's not a problem. The halachas of cutting the hair, both for nazir tamei and nazir Torah, are the same. Because how do you know in the first place that the nazir tamei is supposed to cut his hair with a razor? Which we didn't learn about it yet, but the Gemara is going to say later on that a nazir tamei also has to cut his hair with a razor. How do you know that? Nazir Torah, because you learn out whatever source you had to learn out that a nazir Torah has to cut his hair with a razor. So you learn out that a nazir tamei also. So Lacy nazir Torah, but later for nazir tamei, so you can learn the other way also. You're allowed to learn out the nazir Torah from a nazir tamei. It's true that this halacha, this part that it says Yom HaShvi'i Galchenu, that has to cut all of his hair, it says by nazir tamei. But you learn it out from a nazir. That's two-way street. Nazir Torah, nazir tamei. The fact he has to cut his hair. You learn out from each other. Ma tamei kishir shtei saros v'loy klum avad. Hachanami kishir shtei saros v'loy klum avad. Just like by a nazir tamei, you have this pasuk and you learn out that if you left over 2 hairs, he wasn't able to the mitzvah. So too by a nazir Torah. Elachnami, that the two halachas are able to learn out from each other. So that was the first thing. What we have? That Agav, we had a drasha, you learn out all over that Rubik Kulo, because he had a pasuk had to specify Kulo. That means otherwise we would have thought that Rubik Kulo, and that's the source to know all over Rubik Kulo, and it needs Hagdara, like Avrohom was saying. And then a side point that the way you do know by Nazir that it has to be everything, not only Rubo, is because it says Yom HaShvi'i Galchenu, even though it says Vigilach is called Saro, and then it says Yom HaShvi'i Galchenu, so it says 2 times. You learn out even the whole head has to be cut, and even though it says by Nazir Tamei, you learn it out to a Nazir Torah. Also, the same way that you learn out the Nazir Torah from a Nazir Tamei from a Nazir Torah as far as a razor, so they are able to learn out from each other. It's a two-way street. New Gemara, small Gemara, Baya. Nazir Shegilach, maybe get some color over here. Nazir Shegilach, V'shir Shtei Saros, Samach Rosha, because of a Gilchan, Mahu. What will be the case if he cut his hair, but he left over 2 hairs? So that's not good. So far, it's not good. And then, he has 2 hairs left that he didn't cut. And now he didn't cut them, but he let the rest of his hair that was cut already, that it should regrow. And then he cuts those 2 hairs. The mice, he cut all his hairs, but not at the same time. And by the time he's cutting the last 2 hairs, the other ones grew back again. Is that good enough? Do you say that the mice, all his hairs were cut, or they weren't cut at the same time? Is a ma'akev? And that's the end of the question. He doesn't go further. That's the end of the Abay's question. And the one leaves has a question. You don't know. On one hand, he cut all of his hairs, but at the other hand, by the time he cut the second ones, the first ones grew back. Next question. Boy Rava. Nazir Shegilach V'niach Shtei Saros. Now we'll do this the way it says it, but we're going to erase it soon. And according to this Gersa, it says here that he took a haircut but left over 2 hairs, so he wasn't Yotzi so far. And then Gilach Achas V'nashra Achas. Of the last 2 hairs that are remaining, one of them he cut, and the other one fell out by itself. Now, what would you think if he cut all of his hairs left over 2, and those 2 hairs fell out by themselves? What do you say about that?
Again,
He cut all of his hairs besides 2, so he wasn't Yosei. And then those 2 hairs fell. I'm asking, 2 hairs fell out. He didn't cut them; they fell out by themselves.
I think by default it should be okay.
I think not, because he didn't cut it. He's supposed to cut his hair. He didn't cut his hair.
No, perhaps.
Okay, but in this case, if the Giach, then for sure he's Yotze. Because he cut, there was only one left over, so that's okay.
But you have to have 2 hairs. That if he only has 1 hair,
if let's say somebody cuts and leaves 1 hair left over, then he's Yotze, right?
Right.
So that's what happens here. That if he
very nice. Because the most going to say that means here it says that he cut all of his hairs left over 2, then he cut 1 more.
Yeah.
So it means he cut all of them besides 1.
Right.
And then that 1 fell out.
Yeah.
So what
He's
we're
We're talking
talking about the mitzvah now. We're not talking about the We're talking about the mitzvah. The mitzvah at the end of the nazir, he's supposed to cut his hair.
Right.
You're talking about during the nazir, he's not allowed to cut his hair. Now we're talking about the mitzvah that at the end of the nazir, he's supposed to cut his hair. So he cut all of his hair, but he left over 2 hairs. No good. Then he cut another hair, so now he is good.
Right.
So the fact that one hair fell out, that doesn't make sense. So that's why Avrohom Medifti asked that doesn't make sense. Rabbi's question doesn't make sense. Rabbi wants to know if you cut one hair at a time. That's what happens. He cut one hair at a time. What's the problem? Of course, that's how you cut. How do you cut? You take a scissors, you cut and cut and cut and cut, and then you have one hair left. You cut the other one also. So that's not a question. But the real question was like this. So we'll erase that and put in the real question. Let's put that in over here. Shtei saros. And now Nashva achas, egilach achas. Wow, that was the question. If you would have cut and then the last hair fell out, that's not a question because he cut everything besides one hair. But if he had 2 hairs left, and then one of them fell out, and then he had only 1 hair left, then he cut it, but he didn't have 2 hairs left. So this is the question. The question before is not a question, like Moshe said, he just cut. Then the last one, one before the last, he also cut. So then he did the mitzvah. He just left over 1 hair, but here he left over 2 hairs, and then he wanted to go to cut it, but one of them fell out by itself. Now he only cut 1 out of 2. He cut 1 out of 1.
Right.
He cut 1 out of 1 only. Only 1 hair was left, then he cut it, but he didn't have 2 hairs left. So that's the question. Maybe here it's not called that he cut the last hair because there wasn't any more 2 hairs left.
But
Only
the
was 1
passion
hair.
was to cut it and it fell out by itself.
Okay, but he didn't do it. He didn't do the mitzvah of Giluah.
Even one? Because he only did.
The first
that's
one he
all.
left. The first one he left 2 hairs, so he didn't.
He did cut one and then he was going to cut the other one and it fell out.
No, we fell over that already. If here it says, I don't want to make it yellow because it's going to get us confused. So we'll erase that.
The first it fell out the 1 here, and then he cut.
Oh, then he cut the
They
last.
said he didn't cut the 2 hairs because 1 fell out of it.
Yeah, but he's only chayv of what's there, not what's not there.
We're not talking about Chaim, we're talking about a mitzvah. You're still holding about a nazir.
No,
We're talking about the
even
mitzvah.
mitzvah,
We're talking
even
about the mitzvah of
mitzvah.
cutting his hair. He cut his hair, he has to have hair in order to cut. He can't cut in the hair, he has to cut a hair. So he didn't have any hair left when he cut. He only had 1 hair left. So he was cutting everything. If he would have cut everything and left only 1, he would have been fine. That's the mitzvah, to cut everything, leave over 1, that's okay. But he cut everything. But here, he had cut everything, but he left 2. That's not good yet. And then 1 hair fell out. Only has 1 hair left. Cutting 1 hair is not the mitzvah. So that's the most question. Amalei. So who said this? This is probably, I'm not sure. It says Boy Rava. And then Avrohom Medifti and Ravina were discussing the question. Okay, somebody's answering the question. Kiluach ein kan, seir ein kan. The words seem to be, they changed the gersa. Seir ein kan, and therefore Kiluach ein kan.
Right.
Since there's no hair, so it's no mitzvah Giluach. Since there's no hair now, so there's no mitzvah. He didn't do the mitzvah of cutting his hair. So in this case, it wouldn't be Yotzei. But the Gemara doesn't like that. The Gemara says the words don't make sense. Seir ein kan, Kiluach yesh kan. The Gemara doesn't read it the way I'm saying it. The Gemara is saying that if he's saying now that the family hair left now, so then it means that he cut it. It means the words that sound to say that he took away the hair. Now he removed the hair, the last hair, he removed it, and therefore there's no giluah. Therefore there is giluah. That means that he took away the hair. Let's say one more line. Machikama. Afapisha say Enkan, Mrs. Giluah Enkan. The Gemara is looking at the end of the whole story. Now you look at him, he doesn't have any hair, right? But he says, even though the hair's not here, but he didn't cut it. Mitzvah Giluach Ein Kan. He didn't accomplish the mitzvah because he has to cut at least when they had 2 hairs. So since one of them fell out before he was able to cut it, and then when he's cutting, there's only 1 hair left, so he didn't do the mitzvah of Giluah. So just to go back, we had Rabbi's question, which we don't know an answer for, that the word just continues, that if he cut everything besides 2 hairs, and then he let everything grow back, and then he cut the 2 hairs, that's a question. The Gemara doesn't answer that question, it just goes weiter. And Rabbi had a question, after the Gemara finishes it up, it comes out that if he cut all the hairs and they had 2 hairs left, and then he cut 1 and the other one fell out, that surely is good because he cut all the hairs besides 1. But if he had 2 hairs left and then one of them fell out, and then when he comes to cut the last hair, there's only 1 hair left. So then that's not called the mitzvah. He didn't do the mitzvah of Giluah because first when he cut, he left over 2, and then when he finally cut the last one, there was only 1 left. You have to cut at least 1 out of 2. It's not considered significant already when one of them fell out. So if that's good, we can go back. Next Mishnah. Nazir, Chofei from Mafasme, Savalo Sorig. A Nazir who's not allowed to cut his hair, but he's allowed to rub his hair. He wants to take a shower, rub his hair. So he's allowed to do that. Some hair might fall out. What do you say?
Oh, that's like, these things happen. Oh, yeah, of course, he could shampoo his hair.
Oh, my hair might fall out.
So, that's.
So let's just say it's Dov Shem Skaven. It depends. If you're Dov Shem Skaven is also, it might be also. It means something might happen. So here it says this Mishnah is allowed to do it because it's Dov Shem Skaven. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the whole Dov Shem Skaven is also. I'm sorry.
The case is what
He's a nazir. He wants to wash his hair. He wants to rub his hair.
So it's gonna fall out.
Might fall out. Might fall out. Might fall out. So Mishnah says it's
What happens in the shower?
He's gonna go 30 days without cleaning his hair. Oh my God.
What, 30 days, 100 days,
100 days. That's
7 years.
Okay, yeah, so he's gonna have lice coming out.
What's with secretion?
So here it says that's not secretion. That's a chofet from a phosphate. The word phosphate is an interesting word because last time we had the word sifsef. He has sifsef and his pispase, two different things. Sifsef means that he just cuts the edges of the hair. Pispase, they all say that it means to separate the hair. To separate the hair got clumped together, he separates it with his fingers. So that's called phosphate. He's allowed to do that, even though hair might fall out, he's allowed to do it. Aval lo sorik, he's not allowed to comb his hair. And the more wants to know why he's not allowed to comb his hair. The more starts. If it says in Amish he's allowed to do it, he's allowed to rub and separate the hairs, is only according to Rav Shimon, because Dav Shem Skaven is mutter. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Dav Shem Skaven is us, he's not allowed to do it because it might fall out. But then the question is, Avalo sorik, Asan Rabbanan. The more doesn't know yet. Why shouldn't he be allowed to comb his hair also? It's also the more thinks that it's not obsecration, so therefore he should be allowed to do that also. Why should I say there's not allowed to comb? Because of the Rabbanan, Rabbi Yehuda, that says Dav Shem Skaven is usher. Could it be the same line that it says this is a mutter, this is usher? Means this is according to Rabbi Shimon, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda. That doesn't make sense. He says even Rabbi Shimon knows that it's usher to comb, because anybody that combs is intending to remove the hanging hairs. Udodol doesn't mean that it's already disconnected. If it's disconnected, it didn't do anything. But it's holding on a hair. Like the hairs are very loose and it's easy to come out. So when someone is combing his hair, he wants to get out those loose hairs in order that it shouldn't come out later. So he's doing it b'kavanah. That Rav Shimon of something Dav Shem Skaven, of a stop separation is only if Dav Shem Skaven. The first thing it has to be is Amos Skaven. But if he's Miskaven, even if it's not separation, it's also. I think it's a nice idea that with Allah is you're allowed to say the famous case of Rav Shimon that you're allowed to pull a bench across the yard even though it might make a groove. Even though it makes a charitz, but it's Rav Shimon Skaven. If it's obsecration, then you're not allowed to because it's surely going to happen. But what if he wants to make a groove? So we'll take something which is not the obsecration and they'll drag it across and he hopes maybe it's going to make a groove. Could you do that? No, because that's Dav Shem Skaven. Dav Shem Skaven is us even if it's not obsecration. The whole heter of not obsecration is first thing it has to be Dav Shem Skaven. Here the Gemara is saying that when a person is combing his hair, part of his combing is not just to make it straight, it's also intending to take out the loose hairs. Not loose that's disconnected, the ones that are almost coming out. So therefore, it's a Dav Shem Skaven. That's why it's also even Dav Shimon is also to comb his hair. When I said where are you going? At this last Gemara?
Yeah.
I don't think the Gemara says it's obsecration. Do you see that? The words
we know it's obsecration.
You know it is obsecration? Maybe it depends what kind of comb you have.
It depends how thick your hair is.
So some Rishonim say in this Gemara that I just said, some Rishonim say that the Gemara means it's obsecration. But I don't see it in the words. Kol hasorek, lahasin, even the Dalas Miskaven. It says come out to perish. That's his kavanah. His kavanah is to take out the loose hairs.
But it says cholesteric, and
Anybody.
I don't think it's not like that.
I think it depends. If you care, do you care that the hair would come out loose later on? People who don't care if the loose hair comes out, they don't care that it's hanging a loose hair. So then they don't care about it. But people who do care that a loose hair shouldn't be hanging in afterwards, so they do want, when they're combing the hair, to get out all those potentially loose hair, the hairs that are going to come out.
That's not the reason I'm combing my hair. It's never the reason I'm combing my hair. Maybe some people, yes, but most people, they come here because they want it to be, they don't want it to be messy.
Right. But the question is that part of the mess is going to be, not right now, but it's going to be a mess in a half hour. That he's going to touch his beard and it's going to come out of here and it's going to be hanging out halfway. So is that also part of his concern? So we'll say yes, that anybody that wants his beard or his hair to be musudar, so he's taking into consideration that the loose hairs have to be taken care of. So he moves them away. Right on the daf over here, some say this way, some say that way. Well, what did I see over here? That some say that it's subsequation, like you're saying. The Rosh over here says that it's subsequation, but the others say that he's mechavan to do it. Where's the Rosh over here? No, sorry, they have a subsequation in the Farish Gemara. And who else did I see that says the opposite? Someone says, Rashi says, here's Rashi a couple of lines earlier. Here you see that you have it right on the page. You have Rashi and you can see both of them at the same time. That Rashi says that that's a Davashim Miskaven, that's why it's also, and the Rashi says because it's a subsequation. Both of them calling the same Gemara. He says because it's Miskaven, he says because it's a subsequation. I think the words read that it's Miskaven, that's what the words say. But okay. So this has to do with Hilchos Shabbos also. Yes, don't want to nazir, but every Shabbos you're not allowed to take out your hairs. So it says he's allowed to rub his hair. He's allowed to separate the hairs. That's okay because we hold like Shimon that a Dav Shem is kavanah is mutter lo sorek. So either the Gemara says the reason is because that's his kavanah. He wants to take out those hairs that might come out, and the Rosh says that the Gemara means that's subsequation. Next Mishnah. The next Mishnah is really a continuation of what we just finished saying. It says, Nazir Chofik, there's a lot of rubbers here. That even though he's a lot of rubbers here, but he shouldn't use Adama. Adama was one of the ways that they used to clean the hair. They used to use some kind of clay or mud to rub their hair. And he says, don't use that because that does cause, so it's going to be obsecration. That's going to be obsecration, that this kind of a chemical, whatever, is, or the friction, whatever it's going to be, is going to cause the hair, it's obsecration, even according to Rav Shimon. The Dav Shem is kavanah is mutter, but it shouldn't be obsecration. And this Adama is obsecration. Ibailu, mipnei shim hasheres esaseir tanan, or dilma mipnei hamasheres tanan. How do you, what's our girsa? Mipnei shem hasheres esaseir. So that's one girsa, but the Gemara had a question what the girsa is supposed to be. Is it supposed to say what it just says? Or does it say mipnei hamasheres? Mipnei hamasheres means because sometimes there is a kind of earth which is masheres. Means that not all earth that they use for washing their hair, not all of it causes the hair to come out. It means not all of it is obsecration. So does the Mishnah say that it's also because it causes the hair to come out? If so, if you have a kind of adama that's not going to cause the hair to come out, it's not obsecration, it'll be mutter. But if you say that it's also because sometimes there is such a kind of a earth, so therefore they made it xeros, and then the Mishnah is saying you're not allowed to use any kind of adama because sometimes it's obsecration. That's how the Gemara explains itself. The mind of we know what will be the difference between the two girsos. There's a kind of a earth shampoo that doesn't cause the hair to come out. The word masra is like masheres. In the Aramaic, the tashin changes to a tub. If you say the gas in the Mishnah is because it causes the hair to come out, definitely. So hechad yadin and the lo masra shapir. So then if you have a kind of adama that doesn't cause the hair to fall out, that is mutter because it's only yoser. If it's obsecration, you have a kind of a shampoo that's not obsecration. But then klal lo. If it says that you're not allowed to do it because sometimes there is some kind of a shampoo, a dama that does cause the hair to come out, then it's also, then the Mishnah is saying that it's also because of that sometimes, yes, that it always. And the klal, then you're not allowed to use any kind of a dama. Take you, we don't know pshat in the Mishnah, we don't know the right girsa, but so we don't know. It's probably Yisad Rabbanan, so it's going to be probably only a stuff of an Yisad Rabbanan. I mean, the Raisa for sure is only going to be Yasser if it's obsecration. And the question was, did they make Xera even on things that are not obsecration because of obsecration? And that's also only question in Rabbi Shmuel. So probably it's going to be Mutter. It's only going to be Yasser if it's obsecration. We have 2 points about Shash, the hair might come out. If there's a time that he's Mechavein, that he wants the hair to come out, like the partial words before about combing, so then it's also because it's and even Stav Shem is also. New Mishnah, which we had a couple of times, and I think it's pretty famous. Nazir the Mishnah is going to say 1 point, but it's going to say 3 times over by wine and by haircut and by Timel Mason. That if there's a Chiyuv Malkus over here, we're not talking about the no korban, but it's a Chiyuv Malkus. So if they told him don't do it, don't drink, and he drank, so he's Chiyuv Malkus, and he keeps on drinking, so he's only Chiyuv 1 Malkus, but they didn't tell him again. But if they told him again and again, each time they tell him don't drink, and he drinks a revius or kazayas, whatever the mashir is, so then he's going to be chayiv another malchus. And it says it 3 times. The same thing is going to be by drinking and by haircut and by tamal mason. I saw here 2 pshatim. Some say the reason is because he can say that he forgot. It means that he's only chayiv for the first time that he drank, and then even though he keeps on drinking, you can't give malchus because he says, I forgot. Only talk to the dibur. There's only chayv malchus if he did it right away, as soon as you warn them, or else he can say that I forgot.
It's only one hasra in the beginning.
So that's what I was saying, that there's only one asra, so then it's only chayv one, and even if he kept on drinking for another 5 drinks, he says, I forgot about it. That's what some say. Some say that then the Russians, the reason is because asras machalkos. That just like by chatas, you have to have the idea is machalik between the 2 different chatos. Also by malchus, it's only considered a separate avera if they gave asra in between. So not because he says he forgot, but because it's considered one long avera maybe. Okay. So Nazir was drinking wine the whole day, and because they gave him one asra. But they kept on telling him, don't drink. He drank, don't drink, and he keeps on drinking. Then he shows it. Then he's chayiv each time that they gave him asra. And that's going to say the same thing another two as far as the hair. And they told him, don't take a haircut. And he's cutting his hair, cutting his hair, cutting his hair. And because it's only one asra. They keep on telling him, don't cut every hair that he cuts. There's another very high malchus for each hair. So he's going to be high for each hair. Each time they tell him. And the third case, they told him, don't go to Bitam the Mason, and he kept on doing it. And because only gave him one asra. They kept on telling him, don't, keep on doing it. He's high for each one. It says the same, he sold 3 times, that they gave a malchus, gave a asra each time, so he's chayv another one. If not, they only chayv one malchus. The thing that's going to arouse the Gemara is the last case of the Tumah, that they're telling him al tatami. He didn't get out of his tumah. He came from the mace. It takes 7 days to get out of the tumah of the mace. And he keeps telling him al tatami. He says he's chayv again and again. That's an interesting thing because he's already tummy. So what's he doing worse by becoming tummy? The other two, by drinking wine, every time he drinks wine, he's drinking more wine. Or taking another here, another here, another here. But by tumah, there's a big chiddush over here because he's already tummy. He didn't get out of the tumah. If he'd get out of the tumah 7 days later, then he told him again al tatami. Then you can say it's chayv for each one. But he's tummy. He's right there on the same day, and you tell him 5 minutes later it's chayv again. That's going to be a chiddush. That's what the Gemara is going to focus on. So we're on Amud Beis. Itmar. Amar Rab Amar Huna. Mikra Mali Dibra Koseb Lo Yitama. Keshehu Omer Lo Yovo. La Zirei Ala Tuma or La Zirei Ala Biyah. So there's 2 psukim. I don't have the Torah or in this, the fancy Torah or in this Gemara. It's a different Gemara that I downloaded. I don't think I have it over here. No. This is the old print. It doesn't have the psukim. But the pasuk says that a nazir is not allowed to become tamei, and the way the pasuk goes is Kol Yemei Hazirol Hashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. That's Lo Yavo. Lo Yavo. That he shouldn't come on to the body of a dead man, corpse. Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. Then it lists all the people, and it says he should not become tamei to them in their death. So it says 2 times the same thing, more or less, that he shouldn't become tamei, but it uses 2 different terms. One is lo yavo, one is lo yitama. So this is the Gemara. Amar Rab Amar Huna. Just to point out the names because it's going to change soon. This is Amar Rab Amar Huna. It's not going to change, but it's going to be Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is going to argue on what. Also on the net as well. Let me do that. What happened? Okay. I just wanted to get Yosef over here. Okay. Okay. Yosef. Leave that alone. And also, he's going to be in the name of Rav Huna. So, Rav Huna, Mikra Mali Libra Kasev, Lo Yitama. The pasuk says openly, he shouldn't become tamei, he shouldn't defile himself. La Bibu Limo, Lo Yitama, he shouldn't become defiled. Kishu Omer Lo Yavo. So why does the pasuk say also Lo Yavo? The Yavo was the previous pasuk. Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. Why does it say 2 things? Lo Yitama, Lo Yavo. La Zirei Ala Tuma or La Zirei Ala Biyah. So the Mefarshim explain that if someone's going to become tamei, the nazir is going to become tamei, and they tell him you're doing 2 averos. If you're going to touch the mace, lo yavo, lo yitama. So that's 2 averos. Taka. He's going to be chayiv 2 malchus for those 2 times, 2 averos, like shnei lavin. The Torah says 2 times the avera of becoming tamei. 1 time it expressed itself lo yitama, 1 time it expressed itself lo yavo. So it's chayiv for both. Aval tuma v'tuma lo. which is not going to be just that they told him 2 times lo yitama. This is going to mean that if he became tamei and then he became tamei again, so he's not chayiv a second time because he's still tamei from the first one. So this is touching on to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said a case that lo yitama is chayiv many, but Rav seemed to say, Rav seemed to say the name of Rav, chayiv for becoming tamei and becoming tamei again because he's already tamei. That was Rabbi Amar Rav Huna. Rav Yosef Amar. Yosef says, Elokim, that's a shvua. He swears by God. I swear by God. Amar Rav Huna afilu tumah v'tumah. So the argument what Rav Huna said, there's Rabbi in the name of Rav Huna and Rav Yosef in the name of Rav Huna. Rav Yosef swore that Rav Huna said afilu tumah v'tumah, that even if he was tamei and they told him not become tamei again, even though he's still tamei, also he's going to be chai for the second tamei. Amar Rav Huna, nazir shal yomei b'veis hakvaros v'shitu lo meso u'meisacher. It's a little confusing. The words are a little confusing. Meso meisacher. They seem to say it means either one, no difference. There's no difference. A nazir is also to his relatives also. Laviv u'limo is also even to a relative. So if there's a nazir in the basic forest, so he's tamei, he's in the basic forest, and they gave him, they handed to him a mace or a different mace, the nagabo chayiv, even though he's already tamei, he's in the basic forest, he's tamei because he's in the cemetery, and now he touches a mace, he's chayiv. So if Huna said that, you're saying if Huna holds that he's not chayiv for tumah once he was tamei, if he becomes tamei again, he's not chayiv. If Huna said beferish that he's chayiv if he's in the basic forest and he touched the mace in the basic forest, so he's chayiv. So you see, even though he's tamei, he's chayiv again, but becoming tamei. He's already tamei. From here, I derived that Rav Huna said that even if he was tamei and he became tamei again, while he's tamei, he's also chayiv. So Machlokas Rabban and Rav Yosef, what Rav Huna said. Why ask the kasha to Rav Yosef? You're saying that if somebody is tamei and he becomes tamei again, he's chayiv. That was by a nazir. But he's going to bring a kohen, and it seems to be there's no difference between a kohen and a nazir. Kohen shayil a mace, munachal ksefo. A kohen was carrying a mace. It doesn't say which, doesn't say which mace it was. Was it his own relative? Was it somebody else that he's not allowed to? But he was carrying a mace. Once again, it sounds like no difference. Meso, umeisacher, omeisacher, or take out one of them. You might think that he's chayiv because he touched the mace now, even though he's already holding on to a mace. The fact that he touched another mace, you might think that he's chayiv. Tamaloma, here it says below yichalel, but they changed the gears to lahechalo because this is the pasuk talking about a kohen gadol or something else. But lahechalo talks about by a kohen that he shouldn't defile himself. He shouldn't nullify. What's the word? Lahechalo, to make himself chulin. Okay, to defile himself, profane himself. So that means that it's only us for him to become tamei if it's going to now profane him. The misha and only somebody that's not yet profaned, and now he's profaning himself. If somebody's already tamei, he's already profane. So there's nothing worse in him profaning himself a second time. So Rabbi asked, the Brisa says that there's no tumah after tumah. Well, here it says once he's tamei, we don't care that it becomes tamei again. It's not chayiv. So even though this is talking about a kohen, that's talking about a nazir, it seems to be there's no difference. And same way that it says by a kohen that he's not chayiv to become tamei again, so the nazir also not. So that's a kasha on you, Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Huna. Amalei, the tikshalach masnisan. And so Rav Huna says, you think you have a Brisa against me? How about the Mishnah? You who are saying that there's no tumah and tumah, once he was tamei, he doesn't become tamei again. So the Mishnah is against you. This is our Mishnah we're talking about. This is our Mishnah number Aleph. If the nazir was becoming tamei, it would only one asra. He's only chayiv one because I only gave him one asra. But if they told him again and again to become tamei, he's chayiv each one, even though he didn't get out of the tumah yet. It's the same case that he's tamei and he's touching another one. He's chayiv for each one. And according to you, you're not chayiv for two tumas. He's already tamei. Why should he be chayiv for another one? So you have a kasha of Brisa against the Mishnah. So there's two ways to learn the Gemara now. If it's okay, we'll learn the Rosh's way. So the Rosh is that Rav Yosef is still talking. No, Rav Yosef saying, you're asking kasha on me, I have a Mishnah like me. Ella kasha adadi, and lo kasha still is Rav Yosef talking. Can be chibur and can be shol b'chiburin. That Rav Yosef said there's no tumah v'tumah. I'm sorry, Rabba said that there's no tumah v'tumah. If somebody was tamei, a kohen, a nazir, and he becomes tamei more, it doesn't make him any worse. He's not chayiv for the second one because he was already tamei. Rav Yosef is the one who said that he is chayiv. In the name of Rav Huna, he said that he is chayiv. But we had a contradiction between the Brisa and the Mishnah. Is he chayiv in such a case? If he was tamei and he became tamei again, is he chayiv? So Rav Yosef says, I'll tell you the teretz. Kan b'chiburin, kan shelo b'chiburin. Is he still touching the first mace? Means the case over here by this Kohen. Let's see the case. Kohen shoyu mace from mulchak sefo. So he has the mace on his shoulder. He's touching the mace. He's still in contact with the mace. And then it says if he touched another mace, he's not chayiv because it's very mechulav va'omed. But that's because he's touching the mace. It's true. If he would have let go of the mace, Rabbi Yosef says if he would have let go of the mace and he touched another mace, even though he didn't become Torah yet, he didn't have 7 days prior, he just let go of the mace. Then he would be chayiv for touching the second mace because he's not still connected to the first mace. But if he would still be connected to the first mace, he's not a potter for the second one. So Yosef says, I say that tumah b'tumah is yes chayiv. But yeah, cash on me from this brisa. This is because they still connected. It's tumah b'chiburim. That why they call it electricity. That they call that b'chiburim. He's still connected. While he's still connected, then it's very intense. And if he touches another mace, then he's not going to be chayiv. That's what the brisa says. But I said that if you let go of the mace, then he is chayiv touching a second mace, even though he didn't become Torah in between. So the way we're learning now, Rav Yosef is the one who's saying this, and he's arguing on Rabbah, and Rabbah holds this is a very negeh, I think. The whole thing is very negeh by Kohen. But here it says that Rav Yosef is the one who says that I differentiate between Tumah B'chibur and Tumah Not B'chibur. If he let go of the mace and then touches another mace, then he is chayiv. But Rabbah is arguing on that, holds even in that case, even if it's Tumah Shelo B'chiburin, also he's not chayiv. Rav Yosef himself was the one who's saying he's being machmir tumah, but tumah is only when it's let go of the mace. But Rabbah argues and says even if he let go of the mace, also he's not chayiv for becoming tumah again. We're probably going to pass on like Rabbah, and Rabbah says that there's no tumah, even tumah shlo b'chiburin also. So there's no way to learn the Gemara altogether different. That Rabbah is the one who's machalik, but we'll take this shot of the rush to make it easy. And Rav Yosef is the one who's machalik between the chibur and not b'chiburin. And Rabbah doesn't hold that at all. And that's the end of that Gemara. But the Gemara continues one more line, a couple of lines more. The Gemara knows this concept of Tumah B'chiburim from another place, and the Gemara thinks that it's relevant here also. The Tumah B'chiburim Daraisa, Amr Rav Yisrael Bar Yosef, Amr Rav Yana, Amr Tumah B'chiburim Ela L'Chumah V'Kachim, Aval Nazir Pesach Lo. That this concept called Tumah B'chiburim only applies to Rabbanan. It only is Chumah B'Chumah and Kachim, but by Nazir and also Pesach, that's not you have no Chumah of Chumah V'Kachim. So then you have no Chumrah of Tumah B'chiburim. V'yamar Daraisa Maishna, you can't say a difference on the Daraisa between Chumah and Kachim and anything else. It must be that the whole concept of Tumah B'chiburim is Rabbanan. So the Gemara is going to say now, the words are a little bit difficult, but the way the Mepharshim explain is that there's a difference between what kind of Tumah B'chiburim we're talking about. Kan b'chiburei Adam b'Adam, kan b'chiburei Adam b'meis. Stop over there. Let's see if we go further. I'm not sure we're going to go further yet. But there's halacha. How tamei are you when you touch a mace? Then he's mamish tamei to touch a mace. Then he is tamei for 7 days. If you touch a person who touched a mace, the person who touched the mace is tamei. He's the avatama, and now someone touched him, he becomes a rishon. And then he's only tamei for 1 day. He goes to the mikvah. What if he touches the person who's touching? What if Reuven is touching Shimon, who's touching the mace? Does that make that he has to also become tamei 7 days? These like electricity, that they're all connected. That if Shimon is touching Reuven while Reuven is touching the mace, if Reuven let go to the mace, now he's avatama. And now if Shimon touches Reuven, he only has to be tamei for 1 day. But if Shimon touches Reuven while Reuven is still touching the mace, maybe it transferred and it became like he's touching the mace himself, and he has to wait 7 days. So that's what might be what it says. That's called Chibui Adam b'Mace. That's the case of the connection, and over there that we're going to say maybe is the right song. No, the wrong way. I'm saying wrong. I'm sorry. The Chibur Adam b'Adam is the case I said about Reuven, Shimon, and the mace. Adam b'Adam is not going to be considered that Shimon is touching the mace because he went through Reuven. That we're going to say is Rabbanan. That's only going to be B'Truah V'Kachim, but also Pesach. Now that's not going to be called that he became tamei to the mace. But Chibur Adam b'Mace, that the person himself was touching the mace, is he considered more tamei while he's touching the mace? And you're going to say a difference that if he touched another tamei, it's not considered they did anything because he's touching the mace already. If he let go of the mace, then it's considered that it became less tamei, so to speak, even though it didn't become tahor. And then by touching the second mace, he's becoming more tamei. That's going to be the Raisa. Let me see if we've been any further over here. Let's see, till this line over here, till aval tumah v'tumah lo. So what did the Gemara come out? The Mishnah spoke about being chayv one and being chayv many, and by tumah comes out a big chiddush that even though he's tamei, he can be tamei again. The Gemara asked the kasha from our Mishnah that it seems that he can become tamei. The issue to become tamei is even if he's tamei already. It seems to be machlokes about Rabba and Rav Huna, and Rav Yosef explains that there's a difference between. Rav Yosef explains that there's a difference between tumah b'chiburon and not. That even Rav Yosef that says that there is possible to become tamei again, is only if you let go of the mace. But if he's still holding on to the mace, then he wouldn't be. But it comes out that Rabbi that argues on that, he holds that even if he's let go of the mace, also not going to be chayiv. So he has to explain our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, it seems to say the is chayiv tumah v'tumah. So we have to continue again still to how our Rabbi is going to fit with our Mishnah. But so far, that's the end of the sugya. Okay, yes, you go.